The dark between stars. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge of the UES Nemesis, humanity's last warship, watching the quantum displays flicker with data streams. The vessel, nearly invisible against the backdrop of space, represented Earth's final gambit against the Hexadian Empire. 3 months ago, the Empire's armada had appeared at the edges of human space, methodically destroying every colony and outpost in their path. The Nemesis wasn't built for traditional combat. Its experimental quantum core allowed it to manipulate probability itself, bending reality in ways the Empire's rigid mathematical minds couldn't comprehend. The ship's AI, Araya, had been specifically designed to harness these quantum fluctuations, making the Nemesis appear in multiple places simultaneously or vanish entirely from sensors. Status report, Chen called out, her voice steady despite the weight of 7 billion lives resting on their mission. The bridge crew, just 12 of the total 100 aboard, worked with quiet efficiency at their stations. Quantum core stable at 97%, Lieutenant Marcus Rivera reported from engineering. The probability matrices are holding better than expected. We can maintain full quantum displacement for approximately 72 hours. Chen nodded, studying the tactical display. The Hexadian fleet stretched across 3 sectors, over 10,000 ships, each one a masterpiece of engineering perfection. The Empire had conquered 1,000 species over their 50,000-year history, assimilating each civilization's technology into their own. They fought with mathematical precision, their formations following complex algorithms that had proven unbeatable for millennia. Show me their command structure analysis, Chen ordered. The holographic display shifted, highlighting the intricate hierarchy of the Hexadian fleet. Every ship had its precise place, every commander their exact role. It was beautiful in its complexity, like a perfectly solved equation. And that would be their downfall. The Empire expects us to fight like everyone else, Chen addressed her crew. They expect us to follow the rules of warfare they've established over 50 millennia, to deploy our forces in calculated formations, to engage in predictable patterns. She smiled grimly. We're going to show them why humanity has survived every extinction-level event we've ever faced. We don't follow rules. We break them. The Nemesis's quantum core hummed, its exotic energy spreading through the ship's systems. In the engineering section, carefully controlled microsingularities powered the probability drives. The technology was experimental, dangerous, and exactly what humanity needed to survive. Their first attack fleet will reach the Proxima Centauri colony in 6 hours, Commander Jane Wong reported from Tactical. Standard Hexadian invasion pattern. They'll establish a beachhead, then methodically expand their control radius. That's what they expect to do, Chen corrected. Instead, they're about to learn why their perfect mathematical models don't account for human improvisation. She turned to her crew, seeing the same determination reflected in their eyes. The Empire thinks they're invincible because they've never lost. They've never lost because they've never faced an enemy who could think beyond their patterns. The Nemesis slipped through space like a ghost, its quantum field bending probability around it. In the Empire's sensor networks, the ship existed in a dozen places simultaneously, each signature equally real and false. The Hexadians' rigid minds couldn't process the paradox. Their entire civilization was built on certainty, on measurable, predictable outcomes. Humanity had learned different lessons. Every near-extinction event, every catastrophe had taught them that survival meant adaptation, meant embracing chaos rather than fighting it. The Nemesis wasn't just a warship, it was humanity's ultimate expression of that philosophy. Launch quantum probes, Chen ordered. Let's show the Empire what happens when their perfect equations meet human creativity. The Nemesis released its first strike not with weapons, but with uncertainty. Quantum-enhanced probes slipped into the Empire's communication networks, introducing subtle corruptions in their data streams. In the rigid Hexadian command structure, where every decision required perfect information, the seeds of chaos were planted. The bridge crew watched as the first signs of confusion spread through the enemy fleet. Ships adjusted their formations microscopically, responding to data that seemed correct but wasn't quite right. The beautiful mathematical patterns of the hexadian formation began to show the first tiny flaws. "They're trying to compensate," Wang reported, watching the tactical displays. "Their algorithms are attempting to correct for the anomalies, but they can't identify the source." Chen nodded, satisfaction in her expression. "They're fighting the wrong battle. They think this is about technology, about military strength. It's not." She stood, watching as humanity's greatest gambit began to unfold. "This is about imagination, about the ability to embrace uncertainty. The Empire has spent 50,000 years perfecting their equations. We're about to teach them that not everything in the universe can be calculated." The Nemesis moved silently through the void, a ghost ship carrying humanity's hopes. In its wake, the perfect mathematical order of the Hexadian Empire began to unravel, one quantum fluctuation at a time. The greatest battle in human history wouldn't be won with weapons or soldiers, but with the one force the Empire had never learned to master: chaos itself. Echo of hope. The Hexadian Empire's grand fleet moved through space with mathematical precision, their formation a perfect expression of military might. Each ship's position had been calculated to 14 decimal places, their trajectories plotted with quantum-level accuracy. Among their vast armada, automated systems monitored every frequency, every energy signature, searching for the impossible. A single human warship that dared to challenge their supremacy. They found nothing, because the Nemesis existed in the spaces between their calculations. Quantum signature analysis complete, Araya reported, her artificial voice echoing through the bridge. The Empire's detection algorithms remain unchanged. They're still searching for conventional energy signatures. Captain Chen studied the tactical display, watching the Empire's fleet through the Nemesis's quantum-enhanced sensors. They haven't adapted their search patterns. "Show me their command ship." The display shifted, focusing on an enormous vessel at the fleet's center. The Hexadian flagship, the Mathematical Certainty, stretched over 4 kilometers in length, its golden hull decorated with equations that had proven true across 50 millennia of conquest. "Their arrogance is their weakness," Commander Wang observed. "They believe their algorithms are perfect because they've never encountered something they couldn't quantify." Chen smiled. "Time to introduce some uncertainty into their equations. Deploy quantum mines, pattern alpha." The Nemesis released its weapons, not conventional explosives, but sophisticated devices that manipulated probability itself. Each mine created a bubble of quantum uncertainty, a space where the Empire's perfect calculations became meaningless. The effect spread through the Hexadian fleet like ripples in a pond. Ships began reporting sensor anomalies, their positions shifting microscopically as quantum fluctuations disrupted their formation. In the rigid hierarchy of the Empire's military, these tiny discrepancies triggered automatic correction protocols. "They're trying to compensate," Lieutenant Rivera reported from engineering. "Their ships are burning fuel to maintain formation, but the quantum disruption is increasing exponentially." Chen watched as the first cracks appeared in the Empire's perfect order. Ships that had never deviated from their assigned positions by more than a millimeter were now forced to make constant adjustments. The beautiful mathematical patterns of their formation began to dissolve. "Send the message," Chen ordered. "All frequencies, embedded in their own command protocols." Through the quantum disruption field, the Nemesis transmitted its signal. On every Hexadian ship, command displays flickered. The Empire's own communication systems, corrupted by quantum uncertainty, began broadcasting a message they couldn't silence. "Your calculations are flawed. Your certainty is an illusion. The void between numbers holds more truth than your equations." The response was immediate. The Hexadian fleet erupted into chaos as commanders tried to trace the source of the transmission. Ships broke formation, their crews suddenly unsure if their sensor readings could be trusted. The mathematical certainty itself began broadcasting override commands. trying to restore order through pure mathematical force. Their response is exactly what we predicted, Wang said, monitoring the tactical displays. They're falling back on their protocols, trying to solve a quantum problem with classical solutions. Chen nodded. Launch Phase 2. Let's show them what happens when probability itself turns against them. The Nemesis activated its quantum core at full power. Reality seemed to bend around the ship as it generated multiple quantum shadows, each one appearing as a perfect copy on Hexadian sensors. Suddenly, the Empire's fleet detected not one human warship, but dozens, each signature equally real according to their instruments. Their command structure is fragmenting, StorY reported. Multiple squadron leaders are requesting confirmation of target coordinates. The mathematical certainty is being overwhelmed with conflicting data streams. The Empire's response proved their fundamental weakness. Instead of adapting to the impossible situation, they tried harder to force reality to match their calculations. Ships collided as commanders received contradictory orders. Energy weapons fired at quantum shadows, wasting power and creating more chaos. They're doing exactly what we need them to do, Chen said quietly. They're showing every other species in the galaxy that the mighty Hexadian Empire can be broken not by superior numbers or advanced technology, but by the simple introduction of uncertainty. The Nemesis slipped through the deteriorating Hexadian formation, its quantum field leaving a wake of probability distortions that their sensors interpreted as system failures. In less than an hour, the greatest fleet in the galaxy had been reduced to a disorganized mass of ships, each one trying to follow protocols that no longer matched reality. Quantum core holding stable at 85%, Rivera reported. We can maintain this level of disruption for another 48 hours. Chen watched as the Empire's perfect military machine continued to unravel. We won't need that long. They're already learning the hardest lesson any civilization can face, that the universe isn't governed by their rules, but by the chaos that exists in the spaces between certainties. The battle for humanity's survival had begun not with a massive fleet engagement, but with the subtle introduction of doubt into a system that had never known uncertainty. In the vast darkness of space, a single human ship had proven that imagination and adaptability could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. Ripples of fear. The Hexadian supply fleet moved through hyperspace, their course plotted with the same mathematical precision that had guided the Empire for 50 millennia. 6 massive cargo vessels carried the resources needed to sustain the invasion fleet: fuel, ammunition, and replacement parts, manufactured to tolerances measured in picometers. The Nemesis waited in the void, its quantum field bending probability around the ship until it existed in all possible locations, and none of them simultaneously. Captain Chen watched the supply fleet's approach through sensors that detected not just physical reality, but quantum potential. Their escort formation is heavier than standard, Wang noted. 4 destroyer-class vessels instead of the usual 2. They're learning. They're trying to learn, Chen corrected. But they're still thinking in linear terms. StorY. Begin quantum interference pattern delta. The AI activated a new configuration of the ship's probability drive. The quantum field expanded, creating zones where causality itself became uncertain. In these regions, effect could precede cause, and probability collapsed only when observed. The Hexadian escorts detected the anomalies immediately. Their sensors, designed to measure reality in absolute terms, began reporting impossible readings. Ships appeared to be in multiple positions simultaneously, quantum states refusing to collapse into single outcomes. They're responding exactly as predicted, StorY reported. The escort commanders are requesting guidance from the central algorithm. Time delay for response: 3 minutes. Chen nodded. The Empire's rigid command structure was becoming their greatest vulnerability. Every unexpected situation required consultation with the central intelligence, creating delays that humans would instinctively avoid. Execute attack pattern Chaos 7, she ordered. Target their quantum communication relays first. The Nemesis struck like lightning, appearing simultaneously at multiple points around the supply fleet. Quantum-tipped missiles phased through conventional shields, their warheads detonating in spaces where probability itself had been weaponized. The Empire's perfect formations dissolved as ships lost contact with their command structure. "Their algorithms are failing," Wang announced, monitoring the tactical displays. "They can't compensate for quantum uncertainty in their targeting solutions." The supply fleet's response demonstrated both the Empire's greatest strength and its fatal weakness. Their ships moved with incredible coordination, executing defensive patterns that had been perfected over thousands of years. But those patterns assumed a universe that operated according to fixed laws, where cause always preceded effect and position could be measured with absolute precision. The Nemesis existed outside those assumptions. Its quantum field generated shadows and echoes, each one equally real according to the Empire's sensors. Hexadian gunners found themselves targeting phantoms while the real threat struck from impossible angles. "Send the message," Chen commanded. "Let's see how their perfect order handles a little more chaos." Through the quantum disruption field, the Nemesis transmitted its signal directly into the Empire's command network. "Your mathematics is incomplete. Between your numbers lies infinity. In the spaces between certainty, we await." The effect rippled through the supply fleet like a virus. Ships began receiving contradictory orders as their commanders struggled to reconcile impossible sensor readings with their tactical doctrine. The Empire's vaunted coordination became its undoing as vessels maneuvered to avoid quantum shadows, colliding with their own escorts. "Hull breaches detected in all supply ships," StorY reported. "Their cargo containment fields are failing. Quantum interference is causing cascade failures in their navigation systems." Chen watched as the mighty Empire's supply line broke apart, not through overwhelming force, but through the introduction of uncertainty into their perfect systems. "Prepare for Phase 2. Let's show them why humanity survived every catastrophe we've ever faced." The Nemesis activated its most devastating weapon, not a device of destruction, but one of creation. The quantum core generated a field of pure probability, a space where reality itself became fluid. Within this field, the Empire's ships found themselves trapped in a region where their beloved mathematical certainty meant nothing. Multiple distress calls being broadcast, Wang reported, unable to hide a note of satisfaction. "They're requesting immediate support from the main fleet. Their algorithms have no protocols for this situation." The supply fleet, representing the Empire's logistical perfection, had been reduced to a collection of drifting vessels, their crews facing something they had never been trained to handle: the complete collapse of certainty itself. The Nemesis slipped between the disabled ships like a ghost, its quantum field leaving traces that would haunt the Empire's sensors for days. "Send the final message," Chen ordered. "Make sure it reaches their central command." Through the quantum static, a simple transmission penetrated the Empire's communications. "Your defeat was calculated with perfect precision. The probability of your failure approaches certainty with each passing moment." The Nemesis vanished into the void, leaving behind a scene that would send shockwaves through the Empire. Their invincible supply lines had been severed not by a superior force, but by a single ship that turned their own devotion to order against them. In the aftermath, the Empire would face a terrible revelation: that their perfect mathematics couldn't account for the chaos that humans had learned to embrace. Breaking point. The mathematical certainty, flagship of the Hexadian Empire, drifted in high orbit above their newest conquest, its golden hull reflecting starlight. Inside the vessel's quantum computation center, the Empire's highest commanders faced an unprecedented crisis. Their perfect equations, refined over 50 millennia of warfare, had failed to predict or counter the actions of a single human ship. The Nemesis approached unseen, its quantum field now operating at levels that defied conventional physics. Captain Chen studied the tactical display, showing the Empire's command structure fracturing under the strain of uncertainty. After 3 weeks of quantum warfare, the mighty Hexadian war machine was coming apart. "Their command protocols are breaking down," StorY reported. 70% of fleet communications now require manual verification. Their response time has decreased by a factor of 8. The Empire's strength had become its weakness. Their reliance on perfect information and absolute certainty meant that every quantum anomaly generated by the Nemesis forced thousands of ships to pause, verify, and recalculate their positions. The delays cascaded through their command structure, creating chaos in a system that had never learned to handle imperfection. Execute final attack phase, Chen ordered. Target their central quantum processors. The Nemesis launched its assault not with conventional weapons, but with carefully crafted quantum signals that mimicked the Empire's own command protocols. Each transmission carried a payload of uncertainty, corrupting the mathematical foundations of their tactical systems. On the mathematical certainty, alarms blared as impossible data flooded their networks. Ships began reporting their positions with probability functions instead of coordinates. Weapons systems calculated targeting solutions that existed in superposition, simultaneously striking and missing their targets. Their primary command network is collapsing, Wang announced. The entire fleet is reverting to local control protocols. The Empire's response sealed their fate. Instead of adapting to uncertainty, they attempted to impose mathematical order through brute force. The mathematical certainty began broadcasting override commands, forcing ships to maintain formation despite sensor readings that showed them occupying multiple positions simultaneously. The Nemesis struck in this moment of confusion. Its quantum weapons created zones where probability itself became a weapon. Empire ships found themselves trapped in fields where cause and effect became uncertain, where every action had multiple simultaneous outcomes. Their fleet cohesion is failing, StorY reported. Individual squadron commanders are breaking formation, attempting to establish independent command structures. Chen watched as the Empire's perfect military machine began to tear itself apart. Ships fired on quantum shadows, their weapons passing through false images to strike their own vessels. The mathematical certainty's attempts to restore order only created more chaos as conflicting commands spread through the fleet. Transmit the final message, Chen ordered. Let's end this. Through the quantum static, the Nemesis broadcast its signal. Your empire falls not to superior force, but to the uncertainty you feared to embrace. In chaos, humanity found strength. In rigidity, you found extinction. The effect was devastating. The Empire's command structure, faced with irrefutable proof of its own fallibility, began to disintegrate. Ships broke formation in growing numbers, their crews no longer certain which orders were real and which were quantum echoes. Multiple chain of command breaches detected, Wang reported. Subordinate commanders are questioning primary directives. The mathematical certainty has lost effective control of 60% of the fleet. The Nemesis had achieved its goal not through destruction, but through the introduction of doubt into a system built on absolute certainty. The Empire's perfect mathematics, their 50 millennia of unbroken victory, crumbled in the face of quantum uncertainty wielded by human ingenuity. Send word to Earth, Chen commanded. Tell them that the Empire's invasion has failed not because we outfought them, but because we showed them a truth they couldn't calculate, that the universe belongs not to those who impose order, but to those who can embrace chaos. The mathematical certainty, symbol of the Empire's power, hung motionless in space as its fleet dispersed into confusion. The mighty Hexadian Empire had finally encountered something their equations couldn't solve: the human capacity to turn uncertainty itself into a weapon. Dawn's victory. The Hexadian High Command gathered in their quantum-shielded chamber aboard the mathematical certainty, facing the unthinkable defeat. Their fleet, once numbering 10,000 ships, had fragmented into scattered battle groups. The Empire's perfect order had crumbled before a force they couldn't quantify. The Nemesis emerged from quantum space directly in front of the mathematical certainty, finally visible to conventional sensors. Captain Chen stood at the bridge, watching as the Empire's flagship oriented itself toward them, its weapons ports opening in a display of futile defiance. Their quantum shields are failing, StorY reported. The uncertainty field has corrupted their core algorithms. They can no longer maintain computational coherence. The Empire's response came not in weapons fire, but in a transmission broadcast on all frequencies. This defies calculation. You have introduced error into perfection. Submit your equations for analysis. Show them our answer, Chen commanded. The Nemesis activated its quantum core at full power. Reality bent around the ship as it generated not copies or shadows, but pure probability given form. The space around the mathematical certainty became a zone where quantum uncertainty ruled supreme, where every possible outcome existed simultaneously. Their central computing cluster is experiencing cascade failures, Wang reported. They're losing their ability to predict or control quantum states. The Empire's mighty flagship, designed to impose mathematical order on the universe itself, found its systems overwhelmed by probability waves it couldn't calculate. Its weapons targeted positions that existed in superposition. Its engines tried to compensate for vector changes that occurred before their cause. Transmission from their high command, Araya announced. They're requesting dialogue. Chen smiled. Send them our terms, not in numbers, but in words they need to understand. The Nemesis transmitted its message. Your empire falls not because we conquered you, but because we showed you the truth your equations couldn't accept, that the universe is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be embraced. The mathematical certainty's response came slowly, its quantum computers struggling against the uncertainty field. How do you calculate victory without perfect knowledge? How do you navigate chaos without absolute coordinates? We don't calculate, Chen replied. We adapt. We evolve. We embrace the uncertainty that you spent 50 millennia trying to eliminate. That is humanity's strength, not our technology or our numbers, but our ability to thrive in chaos. The Empire's surrender came not in traditional terms of fleet deployments and territorial concessions, but in a simple acknowledgement that their perfect mathematical model of the universe had been proven incomplete. A single human ship had demonstrated that between the certainty of numbers lay infinite possibilities they had never imagined. Send word to Earth, Chen ordered as the mathematical certainty powered down its weapons. Tell them that humanity's survival is secured not through superior firepower, but through the very trait that the Empire considered our weakness, our embrace of uncertainty. The Nemesis hung in space before the defeated flagship, a testament to human ingenuity. In defeating the Empire, humanity had proven that true strength lay not in imposing order on the universe, but in learning to dance with chaos itself.